We just have to. We're still living within the world. We're still participating in this thing because we have not been taken out of the world on a place where we can be on our own. Or we can make our own food, make our own clothes, this and that. We're not at that place, so we have to do these things. And we understand. But to what extent? Until our children and our children's children go through the same thing over and over and over. We keep asking the same thing for Almighty Father. Wait just until our grandchildren. Oh, and then your grandchildren will say the same thing. How long must Almighty Yahweh wait? He's sparing. He's holding himself back because he would rather that the whole world be saved. But how long must he wait? If our attention is always focused on what the world can do for us and not what Almighty Yah can give us, then we will remain here. We will be stagnant here. Our lives will go on. We'll pass away. Our children will do the same thing. They'll pass away over and over and over. And we're not special. That's been going on for thousands of years. Before Yeshua and after Yeshua. But Almighty is offering us more. Do we know how many people on this earth, and the number is getting bigger and bigger, just feel purposeless, hopeless? They call that thing nihilism, where nothing matters. Some people have realized for themselves they're just animals. They live, they breathe, they eat, they sleep. They do the same thing animals do. So nothing really matters. But for us who have hope in Yeshua, who have hope in the gift of life that Almighty is offering us, well, we need to live like it. We can't just be satisfied with this. We can't just be satisfied in providing a good life for the next generation and the next and the next. We have to keep this hope in Yeshua growing so that our children and our children's children won't fall through the same thing. In Romans chapter 6, verse 16. We're going to go through a few more scriptures, but it's a lot of scriptures, but it's just a simple story. The message was in the title all along. It's nothing complicated. Do you not know, in verse 16 through 18, that to whom you present yourselves servants for obedience, you are servants of the one whom you obey, whether of sin to death or obedience to righteousness. But thanks to Elohim that you were servants of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of teaching which you were entrusted. And having been set free from sin, you become servants of righteousness. That's where we're at, or at least we say where we're at. In verse 23, for the wages of sin is death, but the favorable gift of Elohim is everlasting life in Messiah Yeshua our Master. But we say that's the end of it. That's the goal that we see. That's the goal we're striving for, we're hoping for. We acknowledge that the wages of sin is death. And some people, they die in their sins. That's something we don't ever want to do, right? We think, oh, that's other people. You know, they die in their sins. But Almighty has done the same, where He will kill the people in their sins. And go to Numbers 15. There's a story. Numbers 15, 32 to 36. We don't have to read all of it, but there was a man who was gathering sticks on the Shabbat. Right after Almighty told them about keeping his laws and commandments. And after they just had agreed to keep them. So what did the congregation do? They stoned this man to death. No chance. Now, how many of us think that in the midst of the things that we're doing that we're not supposed to be doing, this might be the last time? There's this thing called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, where someone as young as Shannon and I, or Ashton, could drop dead. Just like that. Why? Because they have heart attack, a VTAC. And it's congenital. You could have it your whole life, asymptomatic, not feeling anything, and then suddenly, you just die. Now we've seen it on the news, right? Athletes just dying as they go for a jump shot or as they run. Healthy, eating healthy, living healthy. But they die just like that. But we don't consider life to be like that, do we? We're going to have our thing, have our fun, not knowing, not thinking, not being mindful at all that we could die in that moment. That it's only through the mercy of Almighty Yah that we're still breathing and given the chance to ask for mercy and forgiveness. I remember Pastor Isaac a long time ago, he mentioned something during his sermon about telling T and Flem to go out there in the world, do your thing. But what did he tell him? Just don't die. But the thing is, can we control when we die? So why risk it? That's not a question just for y'all guys. It's a question for me too. Why risk it? Because Almighty Yah is merciful. That's what we're counting on. Yeah. Because we believe the word when the word says His mercy is renewed every day. If we trust that, and we can trust that, that's why we can live with a sane mind and not worrying about dying every minute. That's His mercy. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. Now this we've heard all before. This is nothing new. I have called the heavens and the earth as witnesses today against you. This is Almighty God speaking. I have set before you life and death, blessings and the cursings. Therefore, you shall choose life so that you live, both you and your seed. Now that was mentioned there in Deuteronomy, but that is something we should hear in our voice every morning. Today I gave you breath once more. Today I let you see the sun, your loved ones, once more. Choose life or death. You choose. But I'm offering life. We read earlier that the wages of sin is what? It's death. So what does that mean? Sin or life? That's the choice. Every morning. Every day. Every hour even. For those who were here a few weeks ago when Brother Smith preached that message, that it's not your testimony. It's not just your testimony. It's your trials too. What will be your character during a trial is not dependent on our testimonies. We can say we did these things and those things. But in the moment, none of those matters. Just like it said in Ezekiel, a man can live righteous his whole life. But when he sins, if he sins and he dies in it, So what does our testimonies get us? In that trial, we have to choose sin or life. It's that simple. Or are we still going to become slaves or stay slaves by choice? In Ephesians chapter 2, I'm almost done. In Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1 through 5. And you were dead in trespasses and in sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the rulers of the authority of the air, of the spirit that is now working in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we all once lived in the lust of our flesh, right? Doing the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath as of the rest. But Elohim, who rich in compassion, because of his great love, with which he loved us, even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together in Yeshua. By grace, by favor, by mercy, you have been saved. In Psalm 32, verse 1 and 6, this is David. He says, blessed is he whose transgressions, whose sins is forgiven, whose sin is covered. And therefore let everyone, every lovingly committed one, pray to Almighty Yah while he might be found. Even in the flood of great waters, they would not reach him. We don't know when Almighty Yah's mercy will stop being expended to us. We don't know that. We just have faith that Almighty Yah will continue to have mercy on us, that he will keep us alive. But it's up to him, and we don't know. So we have to live like we're going after life, like we want more reasons to be alive, not slaving away for the same thing that everyone has been doing this entire time. We saw from Judges, from the Kings, and from even all the way to the New Testament that we are slaves to whoever we obey. Whether that's other people in the chase after the luxurious life, or that's ourselves coveting after other things that we don't need. I will end today on Romans chapter 9, which we read, confirmation today. Romans 9, verse 15 and 16. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not him that wills or of him that runs, but of Elohim that shows mercy. So it's not us wanting to be alive. We can't want to live more. Almighty controls death and life in his hand.